Good evening, welcome. Thank you for joining us. This is the Marion City Council meeting for Thursday, May 9th, 2019. We'll call the meeting to order. Please rise and join us in reciting the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please be seated. Roll call, please.
Mr. Draper?
Here.
Ms. Atkins?
Here.
Mr. Jensen?
Here.
Mayor Abu-Osley?
Here.
Mr. Sternad?
Here.
Mr. Brandt?
Here.
Ms. Gedalia?
Here.
Thank you. This time we have a moment of silence. Thank you. Okay, we have 4 proclamations this evening. So typically I present them, but I've decided to share the fun with other city council members this evening. So I will do the first one, and then we'll have other council members do the other 3. So. First one is Kids to Parks Day. So do we have someone from the Parks Department here? Oh. come on forward. Okay. Stand here. Okay. Whereas May 18, 2019 is the 9th annual Kids to Parks Day organized and launched by the National Park Trust. And whereas Kids to Parks Day empowers kids and encourages families to get outdoors and visit America's parks. And whereas it is important to introduce a new generation to our nation's parks because of the decline in park attendance over the last decades. And whereas children should be encouraged to lead a more active lifestyle to combat the issues of childhood obesity, diabetes, mellitus, hypertension, and hypercholesterolemia. And whereas Kids to Parks Day is open to all children and adults across the country to encourage a large and diverse group of participants. And whereas Kids to Parks Day will broaden children's appreciation for nature and the outdoors. Now therefore, I, Nicholas Abu-Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 18, 2019 to be Kids to Parks Day in this community and encourage all of our residents to celebrate by taking the children in their lives to a neighborhood, city, state, or national park.
This next one will be for the American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Days. Who's going to be representing? Wonderful. Thank you. Come on up. Whereas freedom is a cherished privilege to be treasured by all citizens of the city of Marion, and whereas this privilege has not been free, but carries with it immeasurable sacrifices by our veterans, and whereas in yearly observation of said sacrifices, I hereby honor the veterans and their importance in the preservation of our freedoms, and whereas the poppy is a symbol of remembrance for all veterans who served this great country and aid the living, veterans and their families. Now, therefore, I, Randy Sternad, on behalf of Mayor Nicholas Abu-Osley, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 17th and 18th, 2019 as American Legion Auxiliary Poppy Days, and urge all citizens of the City of Marion to pause and honor our great veterans by wearing the poppy, the American Legion's memorial flower. Congratulations.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to thank everybody for participating when we distribute our poppies throughout Marion. And I'd like to thank the city for backing us for all the programs that we do at the American Legion. We do several things for everybody, and we just appreciate all that you do. Thank you.
I still have my poppy from several years ago.
So do I.
Right here.
That's 3 or 4 of us, I think.
Good evening. Is Alan with the Humanists of Lynn County here? Or anyone with the Humanists of Lynn County here to accept this? Okay. Whereas the application of reason offers hope for human survival upon Earth, improving conditions within the universe, and cultivating intelligent, moral, and ethical interactions among people and their environments, and whereas those who wrote the Constitution of the United States of America, the basic document for governing the affairs of humankind within the United States, based it, in part, upon principles delineated within the philosophies distinguishing the historical age of reason, and whereas citizens of the United States should value reason and its application, and whereas all citizens should promote the development and application of reason, critical thought, free inquiry, and science. Now, therefore, I, Renee Gedalia, on behalf of Nicholas Aboasli, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim Thursday, May 2nd, 2019, a Day of Reason in the City of Marion, Iowa, and I encourage all residents to join in observing this day and focusing upon the employment of reason as a means of resolving human problems and for the welfare of humankind. And we'll just honor it now since May 2nd is passed.
So we did issue that, but we didn't have a chance to read it until tonight.
Oh,
so
okay, awesome. Thank you.
And I get to round out the proclamations with our Bike to Work Week. Do we have anybody with the bike committee? It's you. Yep. Welcome. All right. I wondered, I thought, why is he coming up to take my picture? But darn it. Whereas for more than a century, the bicycle has been a utilitarian, economical, environmentally sound, and effective means of personal transportation, recreation, and fitness. And whereas the City of Marion, Iowa encourages the use of bicycles as a means of transportation, and whereas the City of Marion, Iowa recognizes the bicycle as a legitimate roadway vehicle and therefore is entitled to legal and responsible use of all public roadway facilities in Iowa except highways constructed to interstate standards. And whereas the City of Marion, Iowa encourages the increased use of bicycle benefiting all citizens of Marion by improving air quality, reducing traffic congestion and noise, decreasing the use of and dependence upon finite energy sources, and fostering exercise. And whereas the City of Marion recognizes the use of bicycles as a viable mode of transportation, endeavors to promote safe and responsible bicycling, and is committed to incorporating the development of bicycle facilities as identified in the Master Trails Plan. And whereas the League of American Bicyclists has established May as the National Bicycle Month. Now, therefore, I, Colette Atkins, on behalf of Nicholas Aboasli, Mayor of the City of Marion, Iowa, do hereby proclaim May 13th through the 17th, 2019 as Bike to Work Week.
we have a speech.
Just a quick one, just a few events that are coming up. So next week is Bike to Work Week, for those of you that don't know. So Saturday, we actually have the CMPO bike ride. It starts down by the New Bow and comes through Marion. It'll go through Waldo's Rock Park. It's fairly flat. It'll be family-friendly speeds. Then we have a Bike to Work Week and Mayor Proclamation Tuesday morning. That one goes from Thomas Park to City Square Park. On Wednesday, we have the Ride of Silence. And for those of you that don't know, that's to ride. We have a police escort in front and behind, and we ride in silence for those that have lost their life riding their bike. On Thursday, we have the Pedal Marion Ride, which is basically from uptown out to Waldo's Rock Park and back. So if you're looking for any rides to, and then Friday we also have the morning ride from Butterfield Park to City Square Park as well. So lots of events to get you on different types of bike facilities that we have within the city of Marion. If you need more information on those, let me know and I can get you in touch. Thanks.
Thank you. We encourage people to participate in those bike rides. Okay. At this time, we have a public forum for members of the public who would like to address the council on any topic that is listed on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. If the matter on which you'd like to address the council is one of the public hearings, there will be a time to speak at that time. Otherwise, if there's anything on this agenda that anyone would like to address the council on, this would be the time to do it. If there are items that are not on the agenda that people are here to address the council on, there will be a time at the end of the meeting for that. Okay? So just to be clear again, this is the time to address the council on any item that is on the agenda but not associated with a public hearing. Is there anyone who would like to come forward? Please come forward. Okay, I don't see anyone, so we will proceed with the consent agenda.
Mayor, I move to approve the consent agenda as follows. This will include items A1 through F2 and resolutions 27609 through 27624.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda as presented, including items A1 through F1, resolutions 27609 through 27624. Any discussion? Okay, we'll vote. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. I will turn over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem for the next section.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Brandt?
Yes. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention from voting and discussion as follows. It would be items B1 through F1, resolutions 27625 through 27627.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to move the motion to approve the consent agenda with Mayor Abouassli's abstention from voting and discussion as follows. Items B1 through F1, resolutions 27625-27627. Discussion. Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those say no. Motion passes. Thank you. At this time, I'll relinquish the meeting back over to the mayor.
Okay, on to the regular agenda items under administrative services.
Mayor, I move to approve the following liquor license applications. This is new St. Joseph's Catholic Church, 1790 14th Street for St. Joe's Fun Days.
Okay. It's
Second.
okay, thank you. It's been moved and seconded to approve the liquor license application for St. Joseph Catholic Church for St. Joseph Fun Days. This is effective May 30th, 2019. Discussion. Yes, ma'am.
I just want to say that last year I voted against this because I wasn't sure how the event was going to go, and it went off excellent. There were really no issues at all, and so I'm looking forward to the event again this year. I thought it was great. I'm looking forward to supporting it. So.
Okay. Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to approve the liquor license for St. Joseph Catholic Church, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion
And just for the record, Your Honor, I do have
motion
to
is approved. And go
I have to abstain from that one if the clerk would record that. Thank you.
Okay, so we have one abstention, and the motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-06, amending Chapter 17 of the Code of Ordinances relating to council. Final consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 19-06, amending Chapter 17 of the Code of ordinances relating to council. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion's approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27628, approving designees for city manager, city clerk, and city treasurer per section 17.03B of the Code of Ordinances.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27628, approving designees for city manager, city clerk, and city treasurer pursuant to section 17.03B of the Code of Ordinances. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Thank you. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-07, amending Chapter 110 of Code of the Ordinances regarding natural gas franchise with Marion American Energy Company, including the addition of franchise fees. This will be second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 19-07, amending Chapter 110 of the Code of Ordinances regarding natural gas franchise with American Energy Company, including the addition of franchise fees. Discussion. And for the members of the public, this is the implementation of franchise fees with the Mid-American Energy Company. No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no.
No.
We have one no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-08, amending Chapter 111 of the Code of Ordinances regarding electric franchise with Interstate Power and Light Company, Alliant, including the addition of franchise fees. Final consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 19-08, amending Chapter 111 of the Code of Ordinances regarding electric franchise with Interstate Power and Light Company, including the addition of franchise fees. Discussion. Again, this is the final consideration of implementing franchise fees with Interstate Power and Light Company. No discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion has been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-09, adding Chapter 114 to the Code of Ordinances regarding a franchise agreement with Lynn County Rural Electric Cooperative Association, that's Lynn County REC, to include franchise fees. Final consideration.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved by Councilmember Gadela and seconded by Councilmember Brandt to approve ordinance number 19-09, adding Chapter 114 to the Code of Ordinances regarding a franchise agreement with Lynn County Rural Electric Cooperative Association to include franchise fees. This is the final consideration again. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 19-09, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-12, amending Chapter 20 of the Code of Ordinances relating to city manager. This is second consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance 19-12, amending Chapter 20 of the Code of Ordinances relating to the city manager. Discussion? Okay, all those in favor of approving ordinance number 19-12, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. And the motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-13, amending Chapter 165, Section 165.11 of the Code of Ordinances relating to housing code definitions, and this is the second consideration.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-13, amending Chapter 165, Section 165.11 of the Code of Ordinances relating to housing code definitions. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-14, amending Chapter 176, Section 176.06 of the Code of Ordinances relating to zoning, regulation, rules, and definition. This will be second consideration.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve the second consideration of ordinance number 19-14, amending Chapter 176, Section 176.06 of the Code of Ordinances relating to zoning, regulations, rules, and definitions. Discussion. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion has been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27629, awarding general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2019A, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement, providing for the sale and issuance of bonds, and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Mouthful.
Second?
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27629, awarding general obligation corporate purpose bonds, Series 2019A, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement providing for the sale and issuance of bonds, providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion, I think we have a presentation from our bond counsel.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me.
Welcome.
You have in front of you a tabulation of bids, and if you don't mind, I'd like to discuss all three
Sure.
series at once. Today we did collect bids on the 2019 A, B, and C issue. The A and C are grouped together because they are your general obligation credit. They were rated AA1. The B issue was slightly different. It was an annual appropriation credit, so that means that it's subject to the council's ongoing appropriation of funds to make that payment, and that was rated AA3 only because of the slight risk that the council will choose not to do that, but again, a very high rating, and so the rating agency understands, and looking at the bids you got, the market certainly understands that that's really sort of a legal distinction that's not intended to actually avoid any sort of responsibility on that debt. Up to 2019A, we got 2 bids. You normally get quite a few more, but I did want to point out to you that there are like 35 banks involved in those 2 bids. So it's not an indication that people aren't interested in your debt at all. The rate was 2.81%, which we had anticipated about a 3.28 during the planning phase. So you got $155,000 more in proceeds, and the interest that you'll pay is about $124,000 less over what we projected when we planned. For the B series, that's the annual appropriation issue at a 2.86 versus a projected 3.59. At the time, I wasn't quite certain how the market would react to that pledge, but it priced very well. You had 3 bids on that one, and you got $75,000 more in proceeds, and you're going to pay about $184,000 less in interest over the term than we projected. But best of all was the Series 2019C. That was a refunding of some certificates of participation that were outstanding. And at the time that we started looking at this, I had estimated that you would get savings of around $500,000. Your actual savings was just under $1 million. On a present value basis. That's going to save an average of $90,000 a year between now and 2033. So very good results. I'm certainly pleased with these and would recommend that you award the A bonds to FTN Financial Markets, the B bonds to SWBC Investment Service, and the C bonds to Piper Jaffray. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you might have about any of these.
Thank you. Any questions? So I know I always ask you this. Can you just explain for us and for the members of the public what the ratings mean and how they're derived, and just how we should read that.
The ratings are intended to communicate to investors how sound investing in the city's bonds is. So a AA1 rating is one of the premier ratings you can get. There's only one rating higher, that's AAA. There are just a few cities that are AAA. I think we talked about that last time. It'd be Clive, Iowa City, and West Des Moines. But there are only 6 cities at this time that I did this research that are rated AA1 in this state. That would be Ames, Ankeny, Cedar Falls, Cedar Rapids, and Urbandale, along with Marion. So it's a very high rating. And that's not just true of Iowa, it's true across the country that, a AA1 is hard to come by. And it reflects your economic development, it reflects your valuation, your cash balances, sound management. It really does just reflect the fact that the city is well poised to grow and to continue to be fiscally responsible and to be able to make on-time debt payments.
So it's a reflection of the confidence in the city's ability to make its payments?
Yes, yes. And when we have these conversations with Moody's, the city, we sort of gather a presentation, we talk about the economic development that's going on, and not only do they affirm or assign a rating to these issues, they also reaffirm the rating that's outstanding on all of the other debt that you have. So it's something that we go through on an annual basis. Actually, whether you issue bonds or not, we would be having a conversation with them, talking about that rating and just reaffirming their confidence in the city's debtworthiness and creditworthiness. So it's a very good accomplishment, and as you can see, it's translating into savings. There was another issue in the market, not today, but earlier, a couple days ago, Iowa City sold, and at a AAA, they received pretty close to you. Your rate was about 6 basis points higher, 6 to 8 basis points higher. Part of that's because rates actually went down between Tuesday and Thursday, so we benefited from a little bit of a decline in the overall market. But again, compared to a AAA, you priced really well, and I'm pleased with these results, and specifically the $1 million of savings on the COPs.
That's amazing. Okay, so we'll reiterate this, out of the more than 900 cities and towns in Iowa, Marion is in the top 10 in terms of bond ratings. You have said there are 3 that are AAA and 6 that are AA1,
right,
including Marion.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Yes, Mr. Jensen.
Just a brief question. On the bond series 2019A, that was 2.81. The 2019C was 2.39. What causes that much of a difference between those two?
The 2019C is an urban renewal series that is also state exempt.
Okay.
So people were a little bit more interested in that. It's also just a little bit shorter. It's about 4 years shorter. So you would expect that when you average out the yield that you're going to pay over that time, it would be
shorter bond.
It would be
lower rate.
Lower, even if they were the same credit. But primarily, it's the fact that it's an urban renewal double exempt series.
Okay. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, Mr. Sternad.
Do you, I don't think there would be a lot of them, but what are the interest rates on the current ones that we're calling in? Would you happen to know those off the top of your head?
I do not know it on top of my head, but I have it here, so
Okay.
I can look.
If it's not too much trouble, I'm just curious.
Just a moment, please. It's a little tricky because the bonds that we're calling in are not called at par. So, I'm sorry, they're called at par, but the coupons that we're replacing were, on page 18 here, 3%, a range of 3% to a 4.15%. Those are the coupon rates that the bonds are outstanding, though, which is not necessarily equivalent to the yield that we have on the new debt. But the coupon rates that we're going to pay on the new issue, they're all 3.
They're all 3.
They're all 3, but because of the yield, the absolute yield in the market being lower than that, you received about $500,000 of premium. So you basically were able to refund a total of $9 million in debt. I'm sorry, $9.9 million, and you only had to issue $9.5 million because you issued them at a premium. So when you start talking about those comparisons, they get a little difficult just because they're not consistent across the 2 series.
Right, because if those weren't at par, or The coupon was at 3. If they're not issued at par or not returning at par, they're coming in discounted, is that right?
Either discounted or premium.
Or premium, right, okay.
And so in this case, the coupons, the absolute coupons are lower on the new issue than on the issue that we're funding. But on top of that, the absolute yields are also lower, so you received premium and were able to issue less bonds to refund the ones that were existing. So you replaced it with not only cheaper debt, but less debt in general.
Right, because we're obviously comparing them against the yield to maturity, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are incredible numbers, so I had no idea they'd be closer to the $1 million mark, so great, thank you very much.
Welcome.
I appreciate the extra information there.
Sure, absolutely.
Any other questions, comments?
That's good news.
Thank you. It's
for your
good to
time.
see you again. We'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, so we have a motion that has been made and seconded. This is on the Series 2019A, Resolution 27629. Any discussion, further discussion on that one? Do we need to add anything on, or?
Sorry, I was finishing up.
Oh, okay. No, is there anything we need to,
Nope.
okay, affects the discussion up here? Okay. Any further discussion on Resolution 27629?
No.
Okay, all those in favor of Resolution number 27629, awarding the General Obligation Corporate Purpose Bonds Series 2019A to FTN Financial Markets, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27630, awarding general obligation urban renewal refunding bonds, Series 2019C, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement, providing for the sale and issuance of bonds and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve Resolution 27630, awarding general obligation urban renewal refunding bonds, Series 2019C, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement, providing for the sale and issuance of bonds and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. Discussion? And this is awarding to Piper Jaffray, correct? Okay, no discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27630, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion has been approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27631, awarding general obligation annual appropriation urban renewal bonds, Series 2019B, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement, providing for the sale and issuance of bonds and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27631, awarding general obligation annual appropriation urban renewal bonds, Series 2019B, and authorizing and approving a loan agreement, providing for the sale and issuance of bonds and providing for the levy of taxes to pay the same. This is awarding to SWBC Investment Services. Discussion. Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27631, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-15, amending Chapter 131 of the Code of Ordinances relating to public amusements, and this will be the initial consideration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-15, amending Chapter 131 of the Code of Ordinances relating to public amusements. Discussion.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
I was just curious about this. It doesn't really say why we're stopping. It just says we're not going to renew these fees. I was just wondering how this came up.
It's not something we use
frequently. They're just kind of an extra permit that creates a lot of staff work for very little actual fees collected, and it's really geared at just a couple of businesses. And so a lot of cities are actually getting rid of these. I don't think we maybe have one dance hall permit, if any. So it's kind of an obsolete thing. And when we changed the alcohol ordinance, I think it was probably about a year ago, we kind of changed some things in there that it's no longer illegal to dance in a bar in Marion without a permit.
Okay, interesting. So will these businesses be notified, or they're probably not going to notice their $12 bill, annually, but do we notify them and tell them, or?
I'm not sure. I think they usually submit their renewal paperwork around the 1st of July, I think is when their renewal date is. It's either the 1st of June or the 1st of July. It must be July, because this should be passed in time for that. So at that time, they just won't have to renew. Okay, thank you.
Okay, other discussion or questions? All right. All those in favor of ordinance number 19-15, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to direct staff to draft an ordinance regarding mobile food vendors.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to direct staff to draft an ordinance regarding mobile food vendors. Discussion.
I will lead this discussion. I'm a little confused. The verbiage is not quite what I wanted to see up here on the agenda, but we'll take it. We do need an ordinance, and we need to obviously modify that ordinance, but I want to make sure that we do our due diligence when we go to review this for some of the discussions that we had on Tuesday. So even though we're asking for that ordinance to be either written or updated, that we pause for a moment to reflect on exactly what it is that we're going to be setting going forward here. So I want the public to be very clear. We're not trying to impede on obviously any other business. So just in case there's any rumors out there. So I just want to make sure that that statement's out there for everybody to hear. So at this point, I think it's important we have it, not only for day-to-day business, but public events that are being hosted up in the district. So,
Mike, anyone else?
Yeah, just a brief comment. Again, I think as we look at this, we talked about modeling this after the one that Cedar Rapids has. Marion is, in this area, certainly is not going to be the same as Cedar Rapids, especially in the downtown area. Downtown Cedar Rapids has a lot of events, a lot of businesses that may be able to support food vendors, mobile food vendors as such. So as we look at this, I certainly would look at this from a very strong standpoint of how we protect our existing or future brick and mortar restaurants. We're still looking to add more. Some of the ones that are here, I think, are struggling a little bit. So I think we need to look at this, but from the standpoint, I don't think it should and needs to be the same as Cedar Rapids and needs to be more protective of our existing restaurants and businesses.
I would agree with that. It's always good to have something to start with to look at, but I think we need to make sure that what we end up with is written for Marion and for our circumstances and our conditions here. The other thing is, I think the very first step should be with the staff that looks at this, whether it's the legal department or whoever. I think work with the staff to identify what we're trying to solve here. When we adopt an ordinance, when we adopt any kind of a policy, we're trying to address an issue. And so I think the very first thing that needs to happen is identify the issue. If there's no issue that we're trying to address, and we're just going to adopt a mobile food vendor ordinance because other cities have it, or it's cool, or whatever it is, then maybe we don't need it. But if we do have an issue that we need to address that needs to be taken care of, we need to identify the issue first, and that way you can write the ordinance specifically to address that issue. I too want to be cautious that we don't end up having any unintended consequences, and you know, unintentionally punish people businesses who are making an investment in a permanent location. So, and I'm not saying that that would ever be the intent. Sometimes it could be unintended, and so we just want to be careful that we've looked at down the road at unintended consequences. Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion to direct staff to draft an ordinance regarding mobile food vendors, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Okay, the motion is approved. Mr. Brandt.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27632, approving purchase of emergency bailout rescue bags from Municipal Emergency Services in the amount of $22,185.
Second?
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27632, approving the purchase of emergency bailout rescue bags from Municipal Emergency Services in the amount of $22,185. Discussion.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
Ryan, can you explain a little bit? Is this just a replacement surplus? Or, Chief, I'm sorry. Can you just give us a little overview of that?
Yes, this was budgeted for last year and was approved in the budget to purchase, and we're actually under budget for that purchase. These are used by the firefighters to actually escape from second-story windows with victims or such. So.
Okay, thank you.
Other discussion or questions? Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution number 27632, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a public hearing regarding the Lau Park Maintenance Facility addition project. The public hearing is now open. Do we have a presentation on this?
Yes, Your Honor. On April 25th, 2019, the city received 3 bids for the construction of an addition to the existing Lau Park maintenance facility. Septagon Construction of Cedar Rapids was the low bidder for all described work at a cost of $290,900, or 83% of the architect estimate. Additional bids submitted included Peak Construction Group at $308,000 and Point Builders at $327,400. The Lau Park Maintenance Facility Addition project is budgeted at $370,000 and utilizes urban forest utility funds and GEOBOND dollars. The addition will be used to house the city's forestry and parks equipment. Completion of the building and all related work is scheduled for November 30th, 2019.
Okay, so that was the description of the matter that is before us for the public hearing. Is there anyone here to address the City Council in favor of this measure? Please come forward now. Anyone here to address the Council in opposition? Please come forward. Okay, and Mr. Carolyn, have we received any comments, or city staff, any comments outside of this hearing?
I have not.
Okay. Okay, so we'll close the public hearing. We'll proceed to the resolutions.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27633, accepting bids and awarding contract to Septagon Construction Company regarding the Lau Park Maintenance Facility Addition project in the amount of $290,900.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27633, accepting bids and awarding contract to Septagon Construction Company for the Lau Park Maintenance Facility Addition project in the amount of $290,900. So, Mr. Carolyn, did I understand that correctly? This is significantly under budget, or maybe I misunderstood?
The piece of this project, because there's other related work
Okay.
with roadway into the addition, those type of things. But as far as the building project itself, yes, it did come in under the estimated project budget.
Good, that's always nice. Any discussion? Yes.
I just want to, I did receive some feedback on this, and I did talk to Mike, and he clarified some things. There was some concern just from the general users of the local area there that appreciated having the pond out there and the walking trails and so forth, and so we kind of talked about what the future holds out there and the complete build-out on that, and I did relay that information back to that individual that contacted me, and we always encourage getting that feedback from the general public. It's always nice to know that people are paying attention to what's going on, and it gives us some confirmation that people are using, these trails and so forth. So that's a little bit of a unique area out there, just because of the drive out there, the maintenance, the access to that building, what truly is a trail and what is not a trail. So I appreciated that information back, and I relayed that back as well too. So we're always going to be conscious about how we're adding more storage and steel to some of these, these facilities, as far as making them look aesthetically nice and so forth. So I just, for the record, I want to make sure that we knew we did get some feedback on that, and let the general public know, because these recordings are being listened to, because that's how that one came up. So I just wanted to share that.
Okay. Thank you. Other questions or comments? Mike, I mean, I had the same thoughts about steel buildings out in the park. Do we plan to do like landscaping or tree plantings around it, or evergreens or something to kind of break up the?
Yes, we will. Part of all our park projects and any type of that shielding that, we usually try to incorporate that into all those plans, and we will be buffering all the way around the building, including the north side, which doesn't have a lot at this time, but we're going to add that into the project also.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Other discussion? Okay. All those in favor of resolution number 27633, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27634, approving purchase of property described as 2350 Indian Creek Road, Lot 8, Indian Creek, second addition to the City of Marion, Lynn County, Iowa, from BSC LLC in the amount of $55,000.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27634, approving the purchase of property described as 2350 Indian Creek Road, Lot 8, Indian Creek, second edition, from BSC LLC in the amount of $55,000. Okay, discussion?
Does that
Yes, sir.
take more than one vote, Mayor?
More than one meeting?
Yeah.
We'll ask the city attorney.
No, this is
Okay.
just this meeting.
And the only reason I asked that is we could start on the sidewalk right away then.
Oh.
True.
Yeah.
That's the only.
Yeah. Okay. Other discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27634, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. The motion is approved. We have another public hearing under engineering regarding the 2019 Highway 13 Hennessy Parkway Traffic Signal and Turn Lane Improvements Project. The public hearing is now open. Mr. Barkalow, our city engineer, I'm sure has a presentation for us.
I'll make it short. On April 30th, 2019, we received 5 sealed bids. The low bid was from Price Industrial Electric in the amount of $574,843.95. This was 97.8% of the engineer's estimate. You guys have a full breakdown of the bid tab in your council packet, so we won't go through that. Work shall begin no later than July 8th of 19 and be completed within 50 working days. There's liquidated damages in the amount of $1,000 per day for each day in excess of those working days. And right now we are getting indications that there's a 32-week lag time for the poles themselves. So likely the improvements will be done, the turn lanes will be installed, and then we'll have to wait for the traffic signal poles to actually arrive.
Okay, I think we discussed that on Tuesday. Is that it? Okay. Is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? Please come forward. Anyone here to address the council in opposition? Please come forward. Okay. And have we received any comments from the public outside of this meeting?
No, we have not.
Anyone from staff, city clerk? Okay. We'll close the public hearing and move on to the resolution.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27635, accepting bids and awarding contract to Price Industrial Electric regarding the 2019 Highway 13 and Hennessy Parkway traffic signal and turn lane improvements project in the amount of $574,843.95.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27635, accepting the bids and awarding the contract to Price Industrial Electric regarding the 2019 Highway 13 and Hennessy Parkway traffic signal and turn lane improvements project in the amount of $574,843.95. Discussion? Yes, sir. Mr. Brandt?
Mike, would you mind, just for the general public that's in the audience, explaining how that's being paid?
Sure. So there's a $500,000 TSIP Traffic Safety Improvement Program grant that we received from the DOT. So that's a reimbursement grant. So the city pays for the money up front, and then they come back and reimburse us afterwards. The rest of the money is actually being provided by the development that's occurring there at that intersection of Squaw Creek.
So we're paying for it up front, but then we're getting reimbursed for
100% of the cost?
Correct.
Okay.
And there was a previous MOA that came through City Council that
Correct.
discussed that.
Yep. I think Councilmember Brandt will just wanted to have that made clear to public. Okay. Other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27635, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. Mr. Sternad.
Your Honor, I move to approve resolution number 27636, approving contract with bond with Trey Electric Corporation regarding the 2018 pedestrian beacon project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded, moved by Councilmember Sternad, seconded by Councilmember Atkins, to approve resolution number 27636, approving the contract and bond with Trey Electric Corporation regarding the 2019 pedestrian beacon project. Discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27636, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27637, approving an agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for the 10th Street and Central Ave, 10th Avenue intersection improvement project.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27637, approving the agreement with the Iowa Department of Transportation for the 10th Street and Central Avenue, 10th Avenue intersection improvements project. Discussion?
What's the time frame
Yes,
on
ma'am.
it again?
Okay, so we have a question about the time frame from Councilmember Gadela.
Sure. So this money would be available July 1, depending on, we've already hired HR Green to start the design. Depending on how we get the final design done, depending on phasing, it might be something where we don't want to start it till April. We may want to do this all in one construction season. We may not want to go into a winter with a half roundabout, half signal, half stop signs. We don't know how, that phasing yet. So the money becomes available July 1, but we don't know when we're actually going to start yet.
Thank you.
And I just want to let you all know that for reasons that I've expressed in the past, at other past meetings, I'm going to be voting no on this. Wanted to bring that out. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor of resolution number 27637, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Please mark me as a no. Thank you. The motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to receive, file, discuss, and refer to TAC a petition regarding no parking on First Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue. This was tabled on April 18th of 2019.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive, file, discuss, and refer to the Traffic Advisory Committee a petition regarding no parking on First Street from 29th Avenue to 33rd Avenue. Okay, discussion? Okay. All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. So we will hear back from Traffic Advisory Committee on a recommendation. All right. Councilmember Atkins.
Mayor, I move to receive, file, discuss the TAC report regarding the request for additional speed limit signs on 50th Street.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to receive, file, and discuss the Traffic Advisory Committee report regarding the request for additional speed limit signs on 50th Street. Discussion. So would you just remind us, Mr. Barkalow, as to what the recommendation is for members of the public here?
Sure. So we received a petition requesting that additional signage of 25 miles per hour be posted on 50th Street. Those that are coming off of 29th Avenue, which has a speed limit of 35, may not realize that all streets, unless otherwise designated, are 25 in the city. And because there's a school right there, the petitioners asked that we install additional signage now that 50th goes all the way through to 29th Avenue. Before it didn't.
Okay. And the recommendation is to install additional signage.
Correct. So we're not actually changing any speed limits. All we're doing is posting the actual speed limit that's out there.
Right. So just so it's clear to everyone. All right. Any discussion on this motion? All those in favor of receiving, filing, and discussing the TAC report say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to direct staff to install a set of speed limit 25 mile per hour between 29th Avenue and Saturn Avenue for northbound and southbound traffic.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to direct staff to install speed limit 25 mile per hour signs between 29th Avenue and Saturn Avenue for northbound and southbound traffic. Discussion? All those in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27638, approving a contract with Stanley Consultants Incorporated regarding soil testing regarding 6th Avenue from 13th Street to 27th Street in the amount not to exceed $18,000.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27638, approving a contract with Stanley Consultants regarding soil testing regarding 6th Avenue from 13th Street to 27th Street in the amount not to exceed $18,000. And just for clarification, this is to test the soil before it is relocated in connection with development of that corridor and the building of 6th Avenue, just to test for contaminants and make sure that we're treating it in the proper way. Okay, any discussion? Yes, sir.
I think if Mike could also add a brief explanation for the public about why there's a big mountain of dirt on 6th Avenue.
Sure, because we don't know,
Fifth
because
Avenue,
it's an
sorry.
old railroad right-of-way. Unfortunately, the easy way to get rid of things in the past was just to bury it. So because we don't know what to do with that soil because we haven't tested it, we've stockpiled it on city property, and that way we can get tests and figure out it's either going to have to go to Illinois to a certified site that can be disposed of, depending on the threshold of the contaminants in it. It could go to Lynn County landfill if it's low enough, or if it's considered clean, by the testing, then it can go to any site. But we want to make sure what the contaminants are before we dispose of it.
Can we add more dirt to that site? Is there still room for more that we can
We
pile
have
more
enough
up
to
on
get
there?
what we need to right now there.
All right, thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion?
I have one.
Yes, Mr. Sternad.
Mike, do we run into issues if it is tested and it is contaminated because it has been moved and disturbed now? Do we run into issues with core samples pulled out of that?
So I'm not an expert on soils, but before we had a mitigation strategy that said as long as it doesn't leave the corridor, we're okay. That's why we're leaving it in the corridor, because that's the current management plan that we have. So because we're completing 6th Avenue in the near future, we need to determine we can't raise the street anymore to dispose of that material. So we have to determine where can it go.
So in this case here, it's all or none to whatever their study shows. So whatever sample they have.
And it's not going to be just one sample. It's going to be a series of samples.
Sure. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27638, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. Mr. Brandt?
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27639, accepting the 668 7th Ave parking lot project.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27639, accepting the 668 7th Avenue parking lot project. Discussion?
Is that the one next to Chuck Kent?
I believe so.
Yes.
Right in there. Is it hard to put in a speed bump? We have people cutting through there, Chuck tells me, at high numbers, avoiding the roundabout.
Right. At this point, we are not planning, the city is not planning on doing any more to that. We are following the original agreement that we had with him. And so there's also property that we need to give him as part of that agreement that we originally had. And with that, we'll write agreements in there. So if he wants to put up a speed bump on his driveway, I don't see any issue with that.
Something he could do if he decided he wanted to do that, the city would
Yeah,
allow
I
it.
mean, we need to transfer the property to him first, but
Yeah.
it's not, it's technically not his property yet.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
Any further discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27639, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. For the next public hearing, I am turning over the gavel to Mayor Pro Tem. That would be for the next 3 items there.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. At this time, we will have a public hearing regarding the disposition of city-owned property located adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue, plat of survey 2335 to GLD Commercial LLC. Public hearing is now open. Is there anyone that wishes to address the City Council in favor of this item? Is there anybody who wishes to address the City Council opposed or have any additional further questions? Seeing none, public hearing is now closed.
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 27640, approving the disposition of city-owned property located adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue, plat of survey 2335 to GLD Commercial LLC on behalf of the City of Marion.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27640, approving the disposition of city-owned property located adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue, plat of survey 2335 to GLD Commercial LLC. Discussion.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'm told this should be a roll call vote. This resolution needs to be a roll call vote.
Okay.
I have a question.
Okay. Mr. Brandt.
So I see, looking through this, I see it's $2,000. And wasn't it not that the buyer was supposed to pay for also abstracting and things like that? I guess I didn't see that in here. It says abstraction and title. Seller at its expense shall promptly obtain an abstract of title. at seller's expense.
That may be a term I had either forgotten about or wasn't aware of. I did it just for the purchase price, so that's something I can amend in this purchase agreement. But
What was it? Was it just the abstracting, or was there more
Abstracting in the survey.
in the survey? Yep, it's the next one, survey. Seller has the property surveyed. Oh, has had.
I can make that amendment as well. I knew that there had been a survey done, and so that was one that I had pointed out in my email when I sent this over.
So at this time, we have an item that is not to the council's liking. So at this point, will we take a motion then do you want us to table this? What is your recommendation for this to be corrected?
Well, I don't think that we can approve it until I get it corrected, so it would need to then be tabled.
Sure, very good. So we'll.
So can we approve this just subject to making the modification of the wording? I see no reason to have to wait another couple of weeks on something like this.
Ooh, that's a.
Especially since June 10th closing.
Alter it. Just alter it the way we want it.
The buyer's well aware of it. The buyer's well aware of that. We've been proceeding in that manner, so I don't know that. I think it's just the wording. I probably missed that when I reviewed it. Kara probably didn't know much about that as it was drafted.
So would it be okay to amend this with the wording that the agreement would include the price of $2,000, including the buyer paying the abstract fees and survey fees?
Yeah.
I would think so, but
that's why we have the public hearing. So I think
sorry, we're in the public hearing. My mistake.
No, public hearing's been closed.
The public hearing is closed.
Oh, that's right, you did close it. Yeah, sorry. That's right, we're in two. Okay.
We have the public hearing so that people can make objections, and I assume that would also apply to council, and then you guys can take action on whatever is discussed at the public hearing. So I don't see any reason why, if you notice something like this, and I believe that the buyer, representative of the buyer, is present, so if he had any objections, we could probably hear those as well, if council is okay with that. But otherwise, I don't see any reason why we can't amend it or approve it subject to the amendments. And then I just need to amend that before it's signed.
Okay, so
I think
let's.
that's a good move. But I'm glad that you caught that, because that's something we actually fought to get. Not that it's a ton of money, but it's valuable land.
It's a process that was missed, nonetheless.
We need a second, Steve.
Mayor Pro Tem, I'd make a motion for resolution number 27640, approving the disposition of city-owned property located adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue, Plata Survey 2335 to GLD Commercial LLC, subject to the agreement including a selling price of $2,000 and the buyer covering the abstract and survey fees.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded on a motion to amend resolution number 27640, approving the disposition of this property, subject to the agreement. I'll have to rely on the recording for the verbiage of that. I'm sorry, I could not write that fast enough. So with that particular item, then we will take a vote, or do you still want a roll call on the amended?
Vote on the amended.
Vote on the amendment first.
Right, but I'm asking if they want a roll call on the amendment, because this one required a roll call on the original resolution.
Okay, are you doing this? Sorry, I was making some notes here. The motion to amend does not need to be a roll call vote, but the motion to approve the purchase agreement and the disposition of city property, it's the disposition part that needs to be a roll call.
Okay, very good. So with that being said, all of those in favor of the amended resolution say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. And we have one abstention on that. So with that now, we will come back to the original resolution.
The amended resolution.
The amended resolution, thank you. The amended resolution for number 27640, again with the same verbiage. Any final discussion on the amended version? Seeing none, we'll go for a roll call on this, please.
Mr. Draper?
Aye.
Ms. Atkins?
Yes.
Mr. Jensen?
Yes.
Mayor Abu-Osley?
Abstain.
Mr. Sterned?
Yes.
Mr. Brandt?
Yes.
Ms. Catellia?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution number 27640 moves forward. Ms. Atkins?
Mayor Pro Tem, I move to approve resolution number 27641, amending memorandum of understanding with GLD Commercial LLC, amending resolution 25969.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27641, amending memorandum of understanding with GLD Commercial LLC, amending resolution number 2569. Could we get a summary on that, please? I guess it would be over there, Lon. Thank you.
Certainly. When we did our original agreement with GLD Commercial, the roundabout was originally planned to be built further to the east. And when we got into the design for that project, the roundabout was actually moved west, which created kind of a stranded parcel. So they have now acquired that parcel in the course of doing their project. So we are amending the memorandum of understanding that encompasses their incentive agreement for the entire parcel to include the additional territory. So updating the legal description and making it clear that this meets the criteria for that original MOU.
Okay, perfect. Thank you, sir. Any further discussion on this item? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving resolution number 27641, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Resolution and motion passes. I'll relinquish the meeting back over to the mayor.
Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27642, approving memorandum of agreement related to reimbursement for 27th Street improvements adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve resolution number 27642, approving the memorandum of agreement related to the reimbursement for 27th Street improvements adjacent to 2791 7th Avenue. Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Okay. This time we have a public hearing regarding the Marion Central Corridor District's plan for property between 2nd Street and 31st Street and 5th Avenue and 9th Avenue. Public hearing is now open. Mr. Treharn?
So as the council is aware, we've been working on the Central Corridor Plan for well over 10 years now, and the development of the original document that was approved in the 08-09 timeframe. And what the council has before them and what has been provided online is the update to that plan, which really provides for the district zoning regulations to support the long-range planning documents that have been in place for many, many years. So over the course of the last few years, we've been developing the standards that would support the long-range plan. They're also supported by the comprehensive plan, which is the guiding principles for the City of Marion's growth and land use. I'm going to cover a little bit of the document here. Later on the agenda, there's also the rezoning, which would provide for the zoning of the district consistent with the plan. And really what I want to speak to is that in the document, there's a lot of conversations about the history of what's been going on in the corridor, but really the meat of the document is the change in the zoning district classification. I'm going to go through this a little fairly briefly. It's a larger document. I think there's been a lot of phone calls and conversations from the public. So I think a lot of the folks that are here probably know about the plan and have questions, so I'll just kind of broadly cover it. And if there's further questions, I'd be happy to answer those as we proceed. This is the current zoning in the corridor in the district bound in the plan boundaries. The brighter red is a general commercial district. This district was established and has been established in the city since the 70s. It's a general commercial district. This goes way back to when the edge of town was about where 31st Street is. So those zoning district classification, the uses allowed in that brighter red color, the general commercial C3 district, are consistent with like a 4-lane divided highway. So you've got your car lots, a little heavier automobile repair. You've got contractor yards that are permitted, and different more higher intensive uses than I think what we'd like to see in the core of our community, and certainly what the land use plan has identified for future land uses. So the change we are going to are much more retail, much more neighborhood, and much more city-centered and not corridor highway commercial centered. The brighter or the more muted or brown color, it's a C4 zoning district classification. It's a warehouse commercial district, and it's a little bit of a misnomer because in that district you can actually do light industrial. So that's you can drive down Fifth Avenue, look on the north side, and you see light industrial uses. So the idea is the community grows, that those would go to the industrial park, and that they would be redeveloped, and to be something that's a little more consistent with the neighborhood and how the city has grown in that area. The current uptown, or the current central business district, as it's referred to now, is the C1 district, and this area is our traditional uptown. As you can see, the roundabouts at 15th and 7th, those are really the expanded, and if you look at our corridor, the land use document that was approved many years ago, the expanded district of what we'd like to see our uptown to become would be from 7th to 15th Street. But you can see because of our older zoning patterns that pink area is what was originally the central corridor, the central core of our community, the central business district. So with the new zoning, we're looking to expand that to roundabout, so from 7th to 15th. When this zoning was put in place, we were probably about a town of like 10 to 15,000. So we're at 40 right now. So we're trying to make room for that growth in our uptown. And then you can see, even as we move closer to First Avenue or to Blair's Ferry Road, we've got more of that highway commercial, which makes complete sense. Business Highway 151 was 7th Avenue. So as the community grows and land uses change, certainly the edge of town was closer than it is now. And so it's a difficult transition, but we're trying to move those more industrial uses to the industrial parks. So the new zoning district classifications, and I realize that the color change is pretty dramatic, but I'll walk through them. The lighter browns are residential zoning district classifications, so a lot of the industrial areas on the north side of Fifth Avenue are going to be are transitioned to higher density multifamily designation with limited commercial on the 6th Avenue side associated with that. So in this area, we're really looking for stacked units, so a fairly dense level of multifamily in these areas. The purple is on the east end, the C1, or the UC1 is urban commercial, and this is kind of a transition from the central, or the C3 district to the U1 and the U2 district classification, which is the larger expanded uptown. In this area, we're transitioning, so we're allowing for some of those automobile-oriented uses, such as drive-through restaurants, the parking out in front of the building. It's more of your traditional commercial, but still restricting a lot of there's no car lots allowed, or used car lot sales, or auto rebuilding, or auto repair. That's still being kept out to where it's more of a 4-lane highway commercial district. So there's a lot of similarities between this and what we're seeing on the east side of town. It's just that we're limiting some of the more intensive uses. As you transition towards The uptown area, we're even further limiting a lot of the automobile-oriented style of business. So in these areas, we're looking at drive-through uses will be a conditional use. So we'll want to understand more about how those are being placed on the property. And I think I used Parlor City as an example. That's a conditional use. They have a drive-through on 29th Avenue and 10th Street. I would contend that there's some conflict between that ice cream shop as a neighborhood ice cream shop with a drive-through, because I think there's some tension there when you have to cross a drive-through lane to be seated at an area with your kids. So that it's a little bit of a conflict. So in this area, we would be looking at, if there's a desire to do that, it's going to be conditional, and there'll have to be some review of how that works within that area. As you get to the lighter pink areas, that's the revised or the improved or expanded uptown, the U1, the U2 district. In this area, we're looking at a minimum two-story building. So if you're going to develop, you're going to have 2 stories. We're looking at the buildings being up close to the front of the lot. In the historic core, which is the lightest pink, on the north side of 10th, or north side of 7th, west side of 10th, those buildings will be built to the property line. In the other areas between the roundabout, you'll have a 12-foot max, which means you can set it back, or you can bring it to however you want to develop that property. So it adds flexibility for the developers as that property redevelops. And then as we transition back to the west, we get back to that a little less restricted zoning than the uptown. There's a new look and feel to the code. And this format is very typical of a form-based code, and this code is a hybrid. So we're still using some of the Euclidean use standards and use designations within a zoning district classification, but we're moving to more of a guided design principle as it relates to the building. So when someone submits a plan for redevelopment, these are the ordinances that they'll use, and it's a little more graphic and a little easier to explain to them. But they do look a lot different than what I think the council is used to seeing. This is very similar to what was done at the neighborhood in Indian Creek. It's a lot more user-friendly for the developer and the layperson. I do know that legal doesn't particularly care for the ordinance style of this, but we're working through that. I wasn't going to walk through every one of these districts. I think the council's aware of that. I see some familiar faces in the audience. We've had some phone calls, so I think it might be best for me to be quiet and let that happen. If there's a desire for me to go into more detail, I'll be more than happy to, but I also don't want to belabor the issue and continue to present if it's not necessary. Is that okay with the council?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Is there anyone here to address the council in favor of this measure? You're here just to address the council in favor. Please come forward. And we'll remind everyone, if you're addressing the council, we ask you that you please fill out the yellow card that it's at the end of the desk there, so that we have your name and address. Also, say your name and address when you are speaking at the microphone before you begin speaking. So if anyone is here to speak in opposition, you're welcome to come up at this time. Okay. Yes, ma'am. We would need you to come forward. These meetings are recorded, and so.
I just have a question I'd like to ask, please.
Would you please state your name and address?
I'm sorry.
For the record.
My name is Sheila Matheson. I live at 2498 8th Avenue. And I was just wondering where on your website is this information available prior to your council meetings? It's kind of difficult to prepare to address the council without knowing a little bit about what we're talking about.
Okay. Good question. So, which staff member wants to answer that? Tom?
It should be posted under the community development.
Community development.
Yep.
Okay.
Portion of the website.
Okay. And these maps and proposed zoning changes and things are also included there?
Those documents should be on there, yes.
Okay, great, thanks. Thank you for
Do
your time.
you have any concerns or any?
I was just trying, it's difficult to see, this is the first I've seen it, and I appreciate you sharing it on the screens, but it's difficult to really see exactly where 25th Avenue or 25th Street is on the proposed map, so
Fair
I
question.
was just trying to make sure, okay, what are they changing close to me? You know,
Sure.
logical.
And, the whole big picture idea of this change is to take what was at one point at the edge of town, an industrial area that is now in the center of our commercial district, and allow for eventual redevelopment of that for more appropriate uses for a central business district, and that at the same time would allow the downtown footprint to expand to be more appropriate for a city of 40 or 50,000 people. So that's kind of the big picture idea of what this is about.
Sure, and I'm assuming that the 8th Avenue Historical District will be maintained and that feel will be maintained.
So we heard
I
on
think that's
Tuesday,
important.
and I think Tom could address this, we heard on Tuesday that there are measures in this that would protect that from pressure from redevelopment or development on 7th Avenue.
Oh,
But
great.
Tom could address that.
Yeah, I think what we've tried to do is limit the ability for, like, if someone came in and bought. It would be desirable right now if you're going to develop a commercial lot on 7th Avenue to have the full block, which could potentially take the homes on the south side of 8th Avenue because of the size necessary for what you see in conventional commercial development. So in those areas, we've specifically limited that lot size to 125 feet. That says even if you rezone the property and bought it, you're only allowed that half block size lot. So what we're trying to do is protect that 8th Avenue, the Pucker Street historical district. And we're leaving that residential. So if someone did try to rezone it, there would be a process similar to this. There would be notification provided just as you guys all received, and anything having to do with that project would be brought forward. I'd also state that within this area and these zoning district classifications, any redevelopment proposal is going to go to the Planning Commission and the City Council at a minimum. But if it's within our historic commercial district, which is on the north side of 7th and the west side of 10th, that's going to go to the Historic Preservation Commission, the Uptown District, the Planning Commission, and City Council. If it's in our Uptown District, it'll go to that committee as well before it gets recommended to Planning and Zoning and City Council. So we're really trying to make sure that there's a review process for redevelopment and there's a public process that happens. Currently we have an interim overlay ordinance in effect, but without that, if someone buys property that's zoned commercial, they essentially can submit a site plan. There's no public review process provided. The zoning is a by right zoning, as it currently states in most areas. So.
Okay. And I appreciate all those processes that you go through to protect that. But from someone who's not in the middle of all those processes, that's where it's easy for us to get lost. And it's kind of like, okay, where are we with that? What did I miss? Kind of thing. And since I'm kind of close to the 7th Avenue vacant area right now, and anxious to see what's happening there, and trying to keep up with that, and it's as well as the historic district too. So, just you're doing lots, which I appreciate, and just trying to keep up with it and
Absolutely.
find out where on the website, because I have gone to the website quite frequently trying to keep up with the corridor plan, and I get a little frustrated, and maybe I'm just not doing it correctly, going to the right location to find out proposals, and then I do receive notification when you're voting on your proposals, but by then you've already discussed it, and it's hard to find out is this good or not, or you know, that kind of thing. So I appreciate your time.
Thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
And it might be worth adding that tonight's the public hearing.
Yeah.
On the corridor, the plan document as well as the rezoning of property. But there are three readings of the ordinance to actually rezone the property. So, you know, while I don't think the public hearing will continue to be open unless the council chooses to do that. Certainly, correspondence regarding that can be accepted. Your notice that you received should have my office's phone number on it that you can contact. I'd be happy to sit down and talk through any questions, comments, or concerns you have.
Anyone else to address the council in opposition? Sir, please come forward and state your name and address. Also, if you can also fill out the yellow card for us, we'd appreciate that. Thank you. Please state your name and address.
Daryl Oldenburger. I'm not.
What's your address,
I'm
sir?
not on the opposition side. I'm not on the. I'm in the middle.
Okay, we need your address first, sir.
Beg pardon, sir?
We need your address for the record. Your address?
3435 Monarch Avenue, Marion.
Okay, welcome.
Excuse me, I didn't wear my hearing aids tonight, and of all nights not to have them in here, so
That's all right.
apologize
Please,
for
please
that.
proceed.
My question's similar to where she was coming from. We have some property along the proposed highway, and we've been approached, I think, 3 times over the last couple of years about purchasing some of the ground. And we really don't want to sell it, but I understand what the city's trying to do, and we're willing to work. And they've been there about, 2 or 3 times, and they seem to be real excited, and I'll get back to you. And then we don't hear nothing again. And this has been about 2 years. My concern is, and maybe I'm doing something wrong. Maybe we need to talk to somebody, and to his point, maybe we need to go in and visit with them. What I worry about is you're going to want to come one day and want to start the next day. And right today, we're a little apart on the price yet. So I thought if there's a way of getting that resolved before it's a crisis, that's what I was. I don't know. Maybe we're a year ahead of the horse. I don't know.
Sir, are you saying you have a parcel in the corridor, in this corridor, 7th, 6th Avenue, that corridor?
Yeah, it's on 5th.
Okay.
So, yeah. And they've been there a couple of times. They bought some ground, a couple, 3 doors down or 2 doors down. And I just was curious. They've had, I think it's been 3 times we were approached. Now, it's been probably 6 months since we've heard anything. And that's probably our fault, though, too, for not reaching out. So I'm not criticizing anybody, but it's kind of uncertain where we're at with that mess, is all.
Yep. Okay.
So
I would encourage you to talk with the staff.
I've talked
and
to
try
the
to get
people that
more
have
certainty
been
as to-
out, and they're always going to get back, but we haven't heard nothing. But I think it's your company who've hired to.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If you wouldn't mind filling out the yellow card, we'd appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address.
My name is Marita Stewart. I live at 1545 Fifth Avenue,
Okay,
the north side of Fifth Avenue.
okay.
What can I expect across the street from me? What kind of commercial development can I expect? I'm a new homeowner. My parents died. I inherited this beautiful old 100-year-old home. What's going in across the street from me? It's light pink.
You're on the north side of Fifth Avenue?
I'm on the north side. You're talking about Fifth Avenue up. I'm on the other side of that as a residential person. What can I expect across the street from me?
North or south side? You're on the...
Okay, see that map?
Yes.
See that pink? I'm in the gray. I'm on the...
Okay, so you're on the south side of
There you
Fifth
go.
Avenue.
I'm on the south side
And
of
you're
Fifth
wondering what could happen
Expect to my
to the north.
property values? What's going on across the street from me?
Sure, so I
I'm
think
kinda
Tom
new at
could
this.
explain what this ordinance would zone that as.
So you're at
I'm residential.
Yep.
What's going in across the street from me?
So you're at 1545, so you're just a little bit east of the new roundabout that went in? Okay. So on the north side of that property, and
There's a beautiful home across the street from me, prettiest one in the neighborhood. That's something you've zoned to commercial.
Correct.
I just want to understand.
Yeah, and so in that area, there is commercial provided for in that, and it would be on it really built around the roundabout, and we see that area kind of developing a little bit more commercially. In that area, the buildings would be placed up front to the street, so it would be more of a, almost look kind of like the uptown area, the way the development would occur. But I would point out that, the city doesn't do the development. This would be private developers coming in, acquiring ground, and redeveloping it.
And what was the category of development for that particular pink?
U2.
I'm sorry, that means nothing to me.
It's called U2, Uptown Commercial.
Can you give me an example of a business that is uptown commercial?
Any retail.
An existing business that gives me some kind of a comparison.
Clothing stores, Scout, Joy's. I would see buildings that look similar to what are in the uptown area. Not a strip center type building where you have a lot of parking lot.
And may I ask, the homes in that area, what happens to them?
So this is always the interesting conversation. So the area is going to be rezoned. Currently, that area is I'd have to look at my map up there, but
Do you want me to bring it to you?
Sure.
See
I
this
can grab
area
it.
right here?
I can grab it.
Okay, this is a garage, this is my house, and right across the street is a beautiful home.
Actually,
they own the property all the way back to 6th Ave, and with the paving of that road, their access to the rear of their lot is gone. There's a curb.
So currently, the property on the north side is zone C4, which would allow everything from a storage garage to a auto body shop to a machinist, a metal fabricator. That's all permitted there right now. With the rezoning, they would be limited to commercial, mixed-use buildings, two-story buildings. So it won't be nearly as an intensive use. There's no outside storage required or allowed. There's aesthetic improvements that'll be required with that building. Now, that only occurs in the event that someone buys the property and chooses to redevelop it.
That someone sells that property.
Correct.
As well.
Absolutely.
So they can stay there as long as they want.
Absolutely. So if the person that owns that home decides they're not going to sell that home for that.
That whole block is pretty much residential, but there's some rental units on it as well.
The redevelopment will only occur if there's a willing buyer and a willing seller.
Okay.
And the city's not going to be redeveloping the properties. This is just a rezoning. Everything that's there stays the way it is until somebody says they want to sell their property and they agree to sell it to someone who wants to redevelop it. They could sell it to someone who wants to continue the same use and keep the house there and continue using it in the same use. Those are all private contracts between private individuals.
Sure.
So as far as the neighborhood goes, as Mr. Trehan explained, currently, the uses are much more intense and are more like industrial uses that can be permitted now. Currently, your neighbor could sell to someone who could put up a storage garage on the property. This will eliminate that. It's reducing the types of uses to more commercial type uses that are not so intensive. So.
All right.
Okay.
I guess that's all I have. That means that the green sward that is there where the brick buildings and some of the oldest buildings in town, where those have all been eliminated, and now it's just it has the potential for a lake. There's a big green, no houses on it now.
Mm-hmm.
And that is...
By the roundabout?
Is it owned by the city? Yes, it's by the roundabout.
I think the corners
Is it
are
owned by the city?
Some of the property we do own. They're on the west side of the roundabout, on the
Yes.
south side, the southwest side, we own some of that ground, yep.
Okay. Well, I watch with great interest to see if there are going to be park benches there or a two-story apartment building.
Yep.
Okay.
And
Thank you for the information.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Anyone else? Yes, sir.
And Mayor, I would point out that if you received that card, and then just to restate it, my office phone number is on there. I'd be happy to sit down with anybody and walk through the plan and give them more details. I know it's very difficult in a setting like this to really dive into that, so I'd be more than happy to do that with
We
anybody.
encourage you to do that.
Yep.
So that's your number, 743-6.
Correct. Yep.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my name is Jeff Beisker. I'm a commercial owner here in Cedar Rapids, or Marion. I live in Cedar Rapids.
Okay.
I came here about 14 years ago and bought the property at 2180 7th Avenue. And the reason I bought it is 25,000 cars a day go by there, and it's a car lot. And just from listening to everybody, it sounds like I'm the devil. I don't quite understand that, but that's what it feels like and what it sounds like. And looking at the rezoning here, this is something that'll affect me drastically. It looks like if I'm going to go retail this vehicle or retail this property, that somebody wants to retail vehicles again. It sounds with this new zoning, that's going to take me out of the ballpark, isn't it? For another retail business to come in to sell cars?
No.
No?
So the way that if you become a legal non-conforming use in this corridor, so the rezoning, let's say your use is a used car lot, and then the zoning does not permit that in that district, you become what's considered a legal non-conforming use. You
I think most people understand that as grandfathered. You'd be grandfathered in, okay?
I would be, but what about the next person?
Yes. Go ahead, Tom.
So you could continue to operate and exist in perpetuity. If you sell the properties, that person can come in and exist. If your property sits for a 6-month period of time vacant, abandoned, and not being used for a car lot, that is when, if you came back in to get that use, then that use would not be permitted. So that period of time, you need to continue that operation. The idea is that we're not here to put anybody out of business, but what we are here to do is perpetuate a longer-term plan for the city that includes different uses in that corridor.
It sounds like you're almost trying to cherry pick types of businesses you want to have in the future when you say appropriate businesses for the corridor.
Yeah.
Well, we're just saying industrial type uses that, there was a scrap metal yard there, that has now relocated to an area that's more appropriate, an industrial area where they can continue to do business, and they have been able to modernize and continue to do business here in Marion, but in an area that's more appropriate than the center of town.
Sure.
So that's the big picture, is that I was talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
There's no cherry picking. It's just that types of uses in terms of heavy industrial uses or industrial type uses that were appropriate 100 years ago in that area, because that was the edge of town.
If I could just
yes, go
elaborate a little bit on that. One of the overriding principles, and I work with this and been working with it for so long, sometimes I forget to kind of highlight the bigger picture. So when 6th Avenue does connect, and essentially from 7th Avenue over to the 27th Street roundabout, the way that operates, the traffic volumes on 7th will likely go down because it's going to be a 4-lane roadway. That shift is there's a market shift that will occur. That 20,000 cars per day created a traffic issue for the city of Marion. The resolve to that is to build a corridor that could provide that capacity, which is the new 6th Avenue. And that decision was made many, many years ago. What we're trying to do is, what do we want to see in that corridor when that traffic shift occurs, and how we want to see the area redeveloped, because it will likely redevelop in a different manner, non-automobile oriented. We're seeing these areas move to more of a pedestrian friendly. The buildings are up close. You see more small specialty retail, mixed use, urban style of redevelopment. So that's kind of another reason for this. We just don't see those traffic volumes there in 10 years from now.
I can see that point. If you have more access coming in and out, I definitely see that. But that's where in my business I've got to adapt different types of things with that. But the concern I had was the zoning. I didn't realize there was a 6-month window in there too.
Yep.
As far as that goes, that kind of answers my question.
Yep. All right.
Appreciate your time.
Thank you for coming in, sir. Anyone else? Yes, sir. Please come forward, state your name and address. Did you have a chance to fill out the card for us also?
We did it.
Thank you. Okay.
Been through the routine a couple of times.
Yes, okay.
Tom Spratt, 2261 Fifth Avenue, Marion, Iowa. My issue concerns something that hasn't been brought up tonight that runs right through this whole project we're talking about, and that's the trail of the bike trail that's supposedly going to run through there. Right. And it's a safety issue I'd like to bring up here. We just lost a bicyclist last week in Iowa City, unfortunately, because cars and bicycles don't mix too well. And what I'm concerned with this bike trail is something that I noticed in one of the magazines, that you've got a project pending, or I don't know if it's been approved yet or not, about the beacons for the traffic intersections on these bike trails, and 31st Street, I think 35th and 44th were listed. So I don't know if that's totally been approved yet or not, but I wanted to bring up my experience with this a little bit with the city of Tucson. They had an issue with this going as far back as the year 2000, and they came up with an experimental program with their beacon system called a Hawk system. And they tested it out, and then they finally implemented, I think 2009, they put it in 2 locations. One was Speedway Boulevard, which is a major intersection in Tucson, runs east and west, and 10th Street. And then they put it also near Swan Boulevard, which was near Pima College. Now, the one on 10th Street was close to the U of A, and they had a lot of problems with vehicles and bicycle conflict there. Same thing with Pima College. And they did a study after they put it in for a number of years that reduced the accident rate 69% in those intersections where they had that Hawk beacon system put in. And the other conflict was with motorists be able to recognize what they're supposed to do. And they found out with the study that motorists had a 97% approval of what was put in there, and they understood exactly what to do. So the conflict they were worried about was, it's kind of a stage system. It has a yellow, solid yellow, a blinking yellow, and it has a flashing red, like a kind of like a railroad intersection, flashing red. And they were concerned that people would get confused on the flashing red because it's like a railroad signal. If you see a flashing red, you're supposed to stop. Where with flashing red with this Hawk system, you stop, and then you can go when it's clear.
Sir, I don't mean to interrupt you, but this is the public hearing regarding this plan.
Sure.
And I just don't want to get too far off topic and talking about trails. And if it has something to do with the plan, you're welcome to
I was
proceed.
just concerned about the safety.
Yeah, and the beacons were
Street.
approved earlier this evening in the meeting.
All right.
So, yeah.
Okay, fine. I just want to bring that up about Tucson. Hopefully you know about that.
Okay,
city.
and I don't mean to interrupt you. I mean, we want to hear what you have to say, but we have to stay on topic for the public hearing.
And
you're welcome to address
exactly.
at the end of the meeting about the beacons if you'd like to come back up and talk about that.
We'll do.
You're
Thank
perfectly
you very much
welcome
for
to.
listening.
Thank you. Okay. Anyone else to address the council on the issue of the adoption of the Central Corridor standards? Either way, for or against, please come forward. Please fill out the card for us when you're finished and state your name and address before you speak. Thank you.
Dave Key, 1820 8th Avenue. 3 things. I very much support you protecting the residences on the south side of 8th Avenue. Progress is good, unless it's a historic district. Number 2, I mentioned population density. Thank you. Not all property owners are created equal. We've got some landlords in the neighborhood that aren't helping us. Excuse me. And number 3, once 6th Avenue and 8th Avenue are done, I think it's going to take some encouragement to get the traffic off of 8th Avenue back where it came from. And I hope you're thinking that on those lines.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate you coming in. Anyone else address the council on this matter? Either for or against, please come forward. Okay. Seeing that there's no one coming forward, were there any other comments received outside of this public hearing?
I think the council may have received an email from the owner of the pawn shop.
Yes.
So
anything besides that?
Nope.
Any other communications to the city clerk? Okay. All right. We'll close the public hearing. Bring it back up here for resolution.
Yes, Your Honor. Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27643, adopting the Marion Central Corridor Districts Plan for properties between 2nd Street and 31st Street and 5th Avenue and 9th Avenue. This will be an item for the city of Marion.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve resolution number 27643, adopting the Marion Central Corridor District's plan for the property between 2nd Street and 31st Street, 5th Avenue, and 9th Avenue. Any discussion? And I would reiterate what Mr. Treharn said was this would be the first reading, but we'll have 2 more votes on this. So there is still time for people to make comments and to submit their comments to us. Yes.
Again, I think this, getting all of this looked at again and redistricted and rezoned is long, long overdue. Again, I've lived in Marion since 1962, so what used to be a very small uptown area is certainly enlarging as the city expands. Back when I was in junior high, the Hy-Vee used to be right here on the block where Walgreens is. They moved further out to 31st Street, which was the edge of town. Then they moved to 35th Street, which was the edge of town, and now the edge of town is more than a mile beyond that. So things have changed, things have evolved. We want to make sure we're doing this in a planned manner, and anybody who wants to build within that central corridor knows what to expect. As the mayor talked about, what used to be Marion Iron was originally Cat Salvage. Again, when that was put in there, that was clear on the outside of town. So that was one move that was absolutely essential for this central corridor to see the progress that it's already seen and the further progress that we expect to see in the future. But now, all the developers, everybody that lives along there now has a good roadmap on what may be around them in the future and what we may see. So I think that this is an excellent, excellent step for the city.
Mr. Cernad.
For the gentleman that came up that spoke about the automobile dealership there, we used to be neighbors. So for the benefit of this discussion, I just wanted to explain. I used to own the old donut land here in town. So one of the things that I like to, as I've been visiting with some people as well too, there's so many layers to this that I think people need to understand is one is we definitely do not want to identify businesses or entities by trade. This city is very aggressive and want to make sure that we're keeping these entities alive and that they can continue to have that succession plan as we all have done when we buy these items because it's part of our retirement plan. The thing that runs on the shirt tail with that, though, is it also gives the prospective buyers in the future a vision as to what it is going to look like up here and what will be expected and some of those changes that will come about. So perhaps the next buyer that does want to look at it, they're just going to want to tear the building down and build something different, but it will be in harmony with what that overlay for this corridor is going to be. I took it from a restaurant to an office, and then it stayed an office, and who knows what the future holds for it now. It's somewhat vacant. So some of those things, I do want to try to take this and make lemonade out of this because I think if the new prospective buyer doesn't want to do exactly what the entity is doing at that moment, then at least they have a vision as to what they can do in the future. And I think that's going to bode well for future investors and wanting to buy these properties up here. So I just wanted to let you know that we are very sharp and keen on that topic. We're not picking industries. We're not picking any of those things that are you folks are valuable. I'm valuable. I own and run a business here in town as well too. So I want to make sure we dismiss that right away. We're not picking on these entities here. So, but I do want to say I think sometimes in the business world, if I'm going to buy a business, if it's a successful business and it has a plan and a succession plan, it's worth more than if it doesn't. So if we have this layer up here in this corridor, I think that's going to bode well for resale value in the future. So we're with you and we're paying attention. So thank you for those comments, and I just wanted to mention that. Thanks.
Councilmember Gadela.
Yes, I wanted to thank everyone for their comments tonight and to thank staff for all of the work done on this. I've been a member of the Central Corridor Committee, so we've been a subcommittee who's been working on this for years, and I'm very excited that it's ready. You know, as some other council members have mentioned, this has been very intentional, and the idea is to plan the city and to let people who maybe want to come in and do business here see what our vision is and what our standards are, and we can be very intentional about the layout and the design. I've only been a resident for 8 years, but I moved here, and an excitement for Marion because of the growth trajectory when you see where Marion has come from to where we're headed. We really need to do something like this because a lot of other cities in Iowa who have not done this atrophy, and they're not intentional, and the city just doesn't seem to function well or make a lot of sense. And I work in Davenport, and there's some of those cities out that way along the Mississippi that seemed like they had a lot more potential, but certain things weren't done. So I applaud the city and all of the efforts. It was a long time in the making, but I think this is exactly what we need. So I'm very excited to endorse it and support it.
Okay, yes,
I
Mr.
have
Brandt.
a question for Tom. You brought up the email that the owner of the pawn shop had emailed us. In that he asked about, like, if there was a natural disaster or, say, a fire and the building burnt down, is he allowed to rebuild with the same business under this, or would that not be allowed?
So under a natural disaster, so if the building is destroyed beyond 50% of the value, there would be a limitation on the ability to rebuild. So that is another provision of that non-conforming use.
So he would not
So
be
the gentleman had. Oh, is it? I'm sorry. So that would be that is the case under those situations. That's correct.
So, and this is just me talking, but I know Tuesday when we talked about this is the first version, there'll probably be some adjustments. In my mind, that might be some type of adjustment. So if there is a natural disaster, we don't hurt the business owner and they can't rebuild their business because the zoning has changed. So that might be something to look at changing in the future in this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can.
My opinion on that.
I can review that ordinance in more. I think they've reviewed it though. I think they've been kind of watching it pretty close. So, yeah, they're as I've indicated, and Dave and I in the office were talking about it today. I mean, we can sit down and have the conversation with one of the things that it's currently not a permitted use in that zoning district classification. It could be, we could make it a conditional use in that zoning district classification. It is in the next intensive.
For his specific business, you mean?
Correct.
Right, and I don't mean, and I'm not just saying his business. If a car dealership, if his building burned down and he couldn't rebuild, or I wouldn't want to hurt our business owners if there was a natural disaster or a fire or whatnot where they couldn't rebuild their business in the same spot. So that's why I would like potentially see that changed in the future.
Well, that's very typical legal non-conforming use language.
I understand.
So
that doesn't mean I have to like it.
You would. I'm gonna. Can I add something to that, Your Honor? One of the things, I don't want to drag that topic out, but it's also too where your insurance is going to come into play too. Commercial, residential, both fall in harmony with current codes and ordinances. So how they would have to reconstruct and rebuild is also going to be paired up with the insurance policy. So
sure,
there's a lot of weaving that goes on in with that particular topic.
Yeah, that's a very good point. We get requests from banks that require a rebuild letter, I think is what we call them. But essentially, if they're going to issue a loan on a piece of property, they want to ensure that if it does get destroyed, that it can be rebuilt. So sometimes that comes into play as a project or a proposed development is refinanced, and the banks want to ensure that their investment is preserved. So if they hold the note on that and something happens and they can't rebuild, then that can cloud the loan. So that is something that's out there quite a bit in the real estate market. So.
Any other discussion?
Yeah, I'm
Yes,
sorry, one more thing. I know that this has to go through 3 readings, and we typically only do the public hearing for the first one, but I would just encourage us to add the public hearing to the next 2 because this is such a big instrumental change in the city. It doesn't mean anyone would come forward, but just to afford that opportunity, I feel like it's...
So we've already closed the public hearing, is that?
Hold on. I think you're getting this public hearing, or this agenda item and the next big one confused. The ordinance rezoning has 3 readings. This is a resolution, so this is only 1 reading.
So
to approve the plan.
This is approving the plan. The rezoning itself is the 3 readings.
So it's in that one, so then I'm ahead.
Yes.
I'm not confused.
Yep, you're ahead.
I'm ahead. We haven't closed it because we haven't had it.
There you
So
go.
I would encourage us to leave it open until we have the final reading, to encourage the public to feel that they could come and we would hear what they have to say.
I'd agree with that. Any further discussion? All those in favor of resolution number 27643, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved. We will open the public hearing regarding amendments to Chapter 176, the zoning regulations of the Code of Ordinances, adopting the Central Corridor zoning districts. The public hearing is now open. Was your presentation encompassed in the prior presentation, Tom, or is there anything to add?
No, that's so the map that's on the overhead would be the area that's being rezoned.
Okay. Is there anyone here to address the council on the rezoning? In favor or in opposition, please come forward. Okay, no one is coming forward, so we will close the public hearing.
Wait, you're going to leave it open?
Oh, I'm sorry, that's right. Do we just need a consensus to keep it open, or do we vote?
You can just choose to keep it open.
I can choose to keep it open.
Yes.
I'd like a consensus from the council. Is everyone
I would agree.
in agreement with that?
Yes.
Okay, so we will not close the public hearing. We will keep it open. And see how it goes next time, at the next meeting. And members of the public are welcome to come and address the council, okay?
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 1916, amending section 176.04, establishment of districts and map of the Marion Code of Ordinances to include Central Corridor zoning districts. City of Marion, initial consideration.
Second?
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-16, amending section 176.04, establishing zoning districts in the map of the Marion Code of Ordinances to include the Central Corridor zoning districts. Initial consideration. Discussion. Okay. No discussion. All those in favor of approving ordinance number 19-16, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-17, repealing section 176.50, Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay of the Marion Code of Ordinances, and reestablishing section 176.50 as Central Corridor zoning districts. This is on behalf of the City of Marion. Initial consideration.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve ordinance number 19-17, repealing section 176.5, Central Corridor Interim Development Overlay of the Marion Code of Ordinances, and reestablishing section 176.50 as the Central Corridor zoning districts. Discussion. So this is repealing the interim ordinance that we had temporarily while we were putting together this new ordinance. Okay.
The 2 ordinances that were just read, the one that was approved, are some remnant sections that identify some land uses or the zoning district classifications. It's just a portion of the code that's different than where the actual code language lies. So.
Mr. Sternad, did you have a comment?
No, I did not.
Oh, I thought you did, okay. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor of ordinance number 19-17, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-10, approving zoning from undesignated and C-1 neighborhood commercial to PD-S, planned development special for property between 35th Avenue and Tower Terrace Road extended and 35th Street and 44th Street extended. Final consideration, City of Marion.
Second.
Has been moved and seconded to approve the final consideration of ordinance number 19-10, approving zoning from undesignated and C1 neighborhood commercial to PDS planned development special for the property between 35th Avenue and Tower Terrace Road extended and 35th Street and 44th Street extended. Discussion. Okay. All those in favor of ordinance number 19-10, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, please say no. Motion is approved.
Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 19-11, approving zoning from undesignated to P1 public institutional located north of 35th Avenue and east of 35th Street. This is the final consideration by Linn-Mar Community School District.
Second.
It has been moved by Councilmember Jensen and seconded by Councilmember Atkins to approve ordinance number 19-11, approving zoning from undesignated to public institutional for the property located north of 35th Avenue and east of 35th Street. Discussion. This is the final consideration. This is the school property.
Correct.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor of ordinance number 19-11, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. Mr. Sternad?
Yes, Mayor, I move to approve resolution number 27644, approving Linn-Mar 35th First Edition preliminary plat for property located north of 35th Avenue and east of 35th Street. This will be Linn-Mar Community School District.
Second.
It has been moved and seconded to approve the preliminary plat for Linn-Mar 35th First Edition for the property located north of 35th Avenue, east of 35th Street. Again, it's the school property. Any discussion? All those in favor of resolution 27644, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, say no. Motion is approved. At this time, we have a public forum. Time is set aside for comments from the public on any topic that is not listed on the agenda this evening. Anything that was not on the agenda this evening, you now have the opportunity to address the council. Is there anyone to address the council? Please come forward. None? Okay. Then we will close that section of the meeting. We'll move on to council discussion. We'll start with Councilmember Gadela.
Thank you, Mayor. Two quick things. One, I would just make a request that when we have public hearings, if we have any kind of map or visual that we can show to the public, I think it would just be helpful as opposed to looking at our welcome card, although everybody's welcome.
Okay.
And the second thing is I received this in a Gazette solicitation that they're going to be covering Marion a little more than they have been. And I know we've talked about that and they've reached out, and I think that's a positive sign. But we have a Marion reporter now dedicated on behalf of the Gazette staff. So here we grow. I don't see her. So, oh, are you? Oh, you're doing, no, for the Gazette. We saw that, yes. Yeah, so, no, you're always faithfully here, and we appreciate it on behalf of the Marion Times. But I think more coverage of all of the great things going on, and hopefully that's what they're mainly focusing on, is always welcome. That is all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Brandt?
I don't think I have anything today.
Okay. Councilmember Sternad?
Yes, I had the opportunity to attend the State of the County's annual meeting yesterday. The message was clear that there was a lot of progress and work. It's exciting to see the things that the county has allocated funding to, things like mental health, some facilities that are in need, some public facilities. So I just wanted to kind of bring that message back, kind of share with the public as to what some of the council members are doing on the backside. We've had many things that were rescheduled from the Parks Department due to our inclement weather this week, unfortunately. We just can't seem to get Mother Nature to be on our side this year so far. But anyway, I encourage people to watch social media and the website to be looking for those events that will be rescheduled and future events coming up in the near future. Super exciting, and I had the opportunity to be at the farmers market last Saturday, and it just continues to amaze me. We had a couple move in from Southern California that moved in with the old Rockwell Collins, and very excited. They're waiting for their house to finish building. They're currently residing in their fifth wheel up in Urbana at the campsite up there, and they were super excited. Their bicycles are being tuned up at Northtown Bicycle Shop. They're ready and ready to get excited about being a resident to Marion. So you just never know who you're going to run into, who those you talk to, and it kind of freaks them out a little bit. I had overheard their conversation with someone else, so I kind of asked if they were the folks from California, and it took them to the back seat a little bit. So, but it's kind of fun. But anyway, encourage the public to look for the council to be at a couple of different remote sites there, Mr. Knutson, so you can find us out there in the local community wherever we happen to be. So thank you.
Mr. Jensen.
Just one question. This is actually for Ryan and Public Services. So I've had probably a handful of people ask me about the sand on the streets. And again, we know there was certainly a gigantic amount of sand put on over the winter because of all the ice and snow. Can you give us kind of an updated status report? Because there's still a number of side streets that have sand on them that we've heard people kind of maybe having some issues with those. So can you give us a status report on the removal?
Right now, we're just finishing up main route. Those are our snow routes and our secondaries. We're addressing those first. Here in the next week, we'll be going into residential areas, and that alone will probably take us another 4 to 5 weeks easily.
Okay, so through the end of month of May,
you're looking
to get that completed.
Yep, you bet.
All right, that's what I needed to know.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I, too, was able to go to the State of the County yesterday, and it was exciting to see their strategic direction and vision and how it might align with some of the work that we're doing. So it was, as you said, I enjoyed hearing where they were going and how that might connect to what we're doing here at the City of Marion. So.
Councilmember Draper.
Good evening, Mayor.
Hello.
I too was at the park, and this couple also told us that it's going to cost about half as much to live here than it was in Southern California, and he got a nice raise to move out here, so I thought that was kind of interesting. One thing I had tonight is one of the things was a proclamation concerning bicycles, and I got looking a little bit, and in 1870, Marion got its first bicycle. And we went through, in the 1800s, a period of time when people were upset because they weren't safe to pedestrians. They said they were. Keep in mind, these are the high-wheel bikes with a little wheel in the back, and people were riding those around. And I think the important thing that happened was a safety bike. A safety bike was invented 15 years later, and that was the bicycle as we see it today that has 2 wheels, same size. Those days they didn't have inflated tires yet, but Mr. Goodyear hasn't quite developed that. But so from 1870, bicycles were the thing. And in 1889, there were 1,000 bicycles in the Labor Day parade in Boston, Massachusetts. 1,000. Now, those would all be the high ones. Then I have these that have something that I'm sure that Brian probably will find out when he goes through stuff out there. And that's a 6-person bicycle. And I always one that would like to see the city able to save money. So I was thinking if we'd put the staff on this one every morning, they could make their rounds on this 6-person bicycle, and we could get rid of all these gray and white cars over here.
Which one of those is you up there?
Well, I took the picture.
You took the picture?
Yeah. But bicycles are a big part of our world. I check selfishly Waldo's Rock Park at least once a week because it's on the trail, and I want to make sure our rock is somewhat protected out there. And it's amazing the bicyclists that use our trails. And the last time we surveyed, the survey showed that more people used our bicycle trails than used the library. And I thought that was really an interesting thing. And it's greater than that today than it was 4 years ago. So let's keep track of our bikes. We got driving cars. It's they have their spot and we have ours, and let's not violate them, and let's be real careful of the youngsters and adults on bicycles. So.
Thank you. Glad to see that you're well and educating us on our history.
I remember 1890.
For my part, since the last meeting, we had a ribbon cutting opening for Trees Forever's permanent location in Marion. They had been leasing space for 30 years, and they decided to buy a building in Marion on West 8th Avenue and to make permanent their headquarters. That is a national organization, or an organization that has achieved national recognition for what they do, and they've been a great partner for the city over the years, and really just happy to have them be headquartered here in Marion. So a number of people from the city and Chamber of Commerce participated in that event to help them celebrate. We also had a ribbon cutting for the 8th anniversary of the Kettle House Bakery, which has been a great business in Uptown. Last Saturday we had a celebration of the centennial year for the American Legion Post 298 here in Marion, their 100th year, and they dedicated a new plaque on the obelisk in the park with the flame. So that was a very nice ceremony, and we were able to present them with a check for part of the proceeds from the Veteran Banner program that the city has implemented, and we presented them with a check of $6,500 something that they could use to serve veterans who need help. So that was a very nice part of the ceremony. I was really pleased to present them with that check. We've got a lot of great things coming up, as we always do. We have later this month a ribbon cutting for the new hotel on 7th Avenue. The Views facility is coming along, and we'll be having a ribbon cutting there. The skate park is already being used, and we're going to be out there doing the ribbon cutting next week. Prospect Meadows opening May 23rd. So many great things happening. We had a new restaurant announced. They're coming to Uptown yesterday. Just lots of great things happening. Our city continues to be on a roll. We have great momentum, and I really feel like in the past few years we've and I say this often, but I think we need to remind ourselves of this. We've come a long ways, and we've learned how to. We've grown up kind of as a city, and we're being much more planful. this plan that we adopted this evening is a great example of that. We're trying to get out ahead of the development. Marion is going to grow. People are moving here. We can't build a wall and stop them from moving here. So we have to be part of it. We have to be in the driver's seat so that it doesn't become a negative, so that we are planning how and where it happens, so that it doesn't just happen to us. And that what we saw tonight is part of that the city is trying to look ahead for the next several decades of where the city is headed to, and try to plan for that, and try to direct the growth, direct the development in a way that it will benefit our Marion's residents and not become a detriment. And we're not perfect, and we have to adjust it as we go along, but it's a great start. And we've been doing that in so many other ways. And we've been able to raise the profile of Marion in the region. Marion has earned a lot of respect across the state. We heard tonight from our bond council that our financial standing puts us in the top 10 in terms of bond ratings, top 10 cities in the state out of more than 900 cities and towns. We should be proud of where we live, and I do notice that. And people are, as Council Member Stern had mentioned, new people that he met at the farmers market, office hours. That happens every day. We meet new people that have moved here that say, they've moved here and chose to come to live in Marion. They're choosing to live in Marion because of our great quality of life, because of the excellent city services, because of our customer service orientation as a city of serving people's needs and helping them to enjoy a great quality of life. People are proud of their Marion address, and that says a lot. And so we do have our issues. We're not perfect, but we're working on them, and I think we have great cooperation between council, staff, residents, the business community. Everyone wants to see the city be its best, and we're all working together. So I want to thank everybody for all your efforts, all your work. And I will just end with two things. Bike to Work Week on Tuesday. Please join me for the bike ride from Thomas Park to City Hall. All residents are welcome. Bring your bike, and it will end up in the city square on the steps with a resolution honoring Bike to Work Week. And then finally, I just wanted to announce that I have decided to ask the residents of Marion to give me the honor of another 4 years to serve them. So, thank you very much. Have a great evening. Oh, no.